welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. This time we actually have some Cutlass board games. This is a prototype I've been working on for a little while called Asteroid 322. This is my Game Crafter printed version, so it's hopefully going to be looking a bit sexy, but obviously I did all the art myself. Everything is kind of a placeholder just so that I can actually play and test out the game. I'm going to pull it open, we get to have a look inside. I'm going to kind of explain a little bit about how the game works and try and show off as much as I can. So I'm a little excited about it because I have been fiddling with it for a little while. And this is my first actual prototype of it. Because there's a lot of little fiddly pieces, it's hard for me to build it myself. The amount of time invested wasn't really worth it, so I was like, well, I'll go ahead, I'll get homies at the Game Crafter, big shout out, we love them, to get a copy made. It doesn't actually take much to kind of make it happen. My green screen replacement is making the text be a bit funky, but it's Asteroid 322, and this is just like a sci-fi font that I found. It just says literally the same thing. Alright, let's sneak a little bit off here. So you're seeing it exactly as I'm seeing it for the first time. Get rid of some of this. Alright, we're starting to see. Okay, we got some laser cut stuff. Because some things are, I don't know if that'll ever focus. Basically, it's a note from the Game Crafter saying some things have been laser cut. It's gonna smell like burning for a little while since it's been taken out of the bag. It already smells a bit weird, like glue and fire. But I'm not the most reliable for that. I believe this is the punch board. We will punch that in a second. We've got, like every good game has, 4 meeples. Our deck of cards, which we'll get to in a second, and the primary board. The green screen replacement is going to go absolutely feral with this, but I'm going to do my best to make it happen. What we do is I don't actually need to open this, it can stay in the bag. But this is the main board. It's got 4 different colored quadrants and like a neutral area in the middle. Each of the colored quadrants has a coordinate that identifies it, but it starts from 4 and goes to 12. I'll explain why later. We'll find out together, don't worry. We've got our 4 meeples, which correspond with the colors on the board, and the player boards, which we're going to get to in a second. This one I will need to open up. So this is the player boards. Also, this is just the biggest game I've ever made. Notice it's towards mana, which is next in line. Doesn't have player unique boards and pieces. Everything's kind of shared. So this, again, I don't know if my camera's good enough for you to ever be able to read that. On the left is a score tracker. Then we have another tracker here, which is the current suit hierarchy, because this is a trick-taking game. We start off with diamonds being the highest suit, but this can change, and we all have tokens for that. Yeah, I can already see what he's talking about with wiping it down. And then there's scoring reminders on this bottom right section. So this would sit next to the main board. Next up is the individual player boards. So I've got one of them upside down, but this is what they look like. Let me pick up the not green one. How about red? Looks great. There we go. So you've got your individual score earning track. Think like root, where as you take things off, the score is revealed, you add that to your score. And then there's the cost of what it's going to take to be able to build that thing, and then basically another explanation of how different things work. So this is what your personal board would look like. I'm going to just put one here in front of me for now. Put the rest over here. Let's do cards next, and then we'll do our little tokens and punch card and stuff last. Alright, this slides off. This slides off. We'll eventually sleeve this, but this is what the card back looks like. Just like the box art in the same kind of moon pattern. And then we've got the deck. So this is trying to imitate a 52, like the classic, right? Except there's a few other things here, and we'll kind of get into that in a second. But the kind of story behind the game is this: the board is Asteroid 322, and the different players represent companies that are vying for rights to the different space for like mining or drilling or whatever. And there's 4 different types of natural resources that they're trying to get access to. With this one, which is, I believe, minerals, clubs, which is gas, diamonds, which is diamonds, and then spades, which is rich soil harvesting. And like any trick-taking game, each player is going to take turns playing a card into the trick, and then based on what cards are added to the trick is what actions you will have access to. So some of the special face cards, which you might recognize, are just reused character art from Spaceship Readout. This is the Admiral. And each card of the suit shows you what the building icon looks like. Like this is always still gas, but just so you don't get them confused, this is what the gas harvesters always look like. And as you play a card, it will have a special effect. For example, if you play a 12, you can build any building type that you have built the least of into your color zone. So if I'm red and I have the least gas harvesters, I can build one into the red zone in any of those areas. Ignoring the, no, with that one I do have to pay the discard costs. It's the ace that I get to ignore the requirements for. So when I am building something, I have to discard cards from my hand that match the requirements on the top here. For example, the first one is just any one card. And once one player has run out of cards in hand, then everyone gets a new hand. So potentially spinning it down faster can be beneficial if you think people are holding on to like that really good high card to try and win a trick. You can force a reset. And then there's, which we saw earlier, prime, which is above ace. Below ace, really. Because you lose the trick when you play a prime, but you get to build that building type on the coordinates of the trick winning card. So for example, if somebody plays a 12 and you played crystals prime, you can build a crystal harvester on any of the 12s, assuming there's a free space, or on any gray space, which is in the center. Now, why the colored zones are important is, I'll bring this up again, you can kind of see here, to be able to build some of the more point scoring ones, you have a requirement to have 2 structures built in a specific color area. So for the red board, it starts with green, then goes yellow, then goes blue, and red finally. Every other board is the same kind of pattern, where the last one is their home board color, because you will get more things for free into your home board color. Okay, now let's have a look at some of the punch card. I will punch some out in a minute, but so this one looks like we've got some spares, but this is our suit leader marker that will sit on top of here, and it will adjust based on what the suit leader is. So it's not always going to be the same suit lead, it will change throughout the game. And then we've got our different things. So there's going to be yellow for each type, right? You can see there's 2 different types, and you can see, I'll just throw them around. you can see on the card which type it's going to be. So this is a green gas harvester, and then the kind of scoring at the end, which we can run through. So you get an idea. You're building out stuff onto the board, and then the end game scoring is for each of the zones, the plane with the most structures in it. So if I have 5 in the red, no one else has 5 or more, I'm going to win that, which gives me 5 points, right, for example. That goes for every zone, so the person who has the most number of structures in a specific zone will win that zone and get 5 points. The plane with the most contiguous structures, which is, I think, the the longest train, the longest road in Catan, that kind of thing, where the longest connected structures, it doesn't matter where, but the longest line of them will get 10 points. And then more stringent from that, the play with the longest contiguous line of the same type of structure. So if I have 6 gas harvesters next to each other, that might earn me 10 points. And then the last one is the player who has the most structures of the highest scoring suit type. So that is again this, and this will change regularly, and you can force it to change as well. So you want to have your thing that you have the most of in that highest slot when the game ends, so that you can score the 10 points that come with that last scoring clause. So basically, you're playing out a trick, the trick resolves, that will determine who can build stuff or what can be built. People then build stuff onto the board starts to get crowded with some things. Some of the buildings can be moved around based on different card effects. And then once the end game condition is triggered, then we will score based on how and where everything is, and what points we have scored based on what we've revealed on our boards throughout the game. And that's kind of Asteroid 322. The idea was for me to try and build something that was somewhere between the crew and Root. I really like Root, and I really like the crew. And I really wanted to build something that was kind of like that had that same kind of Root board style, but constructing onto a grid like a city builder, which I'm really excited about. So if you think this looks cool, let me know. I'm going to be taking this to prototype events and showing off, getting some gameplay happening. So stick around. Hopefully I'll have some more cool stuff to show off with that. But until then, this is Asteroid 322, and hopefully we'll get to see more exciting stuff on the Cutlass Board Games channel when it comes to this.